All right. Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune for the 20th day of January, 2020. Well, I've done this once, and I don't know what happened. I totally blanked out. I lost my train of thought. There toward the end, I got to the rune, and here's the thing, though. The cards in the rune that I have here so far are significant. So I'm just going to keep them, and we're going to look at what I have. And I'll tell you why I say that here in a moment. Let's go ahead, though, and look at the astrology because that's going to factor into this. This was as of 10 o'clock this morning. It's about 10:51 right now. We're looking at, again, most planets are in the 11th and 12th house, so in the fourth quadrant. So again, goal-oriented, a guard against fanaticism, same as last week. But what we're talking about still is relationships are in focus with the idea of endings and reevaluations, same as last week. But right now, the moon is in the ninth house in Sagittarius. There's an emotional need for adventure and independence. Hopefully you don't do that at some gun rally today in Virginia, because that's not going to be good. I mean, on Martin Luther King Day, why are you doing this? Anyway. So consequently, there's a square with Venus. We may also have difficulty expressing feelings in relationships, difficulty relaxing with them, conjunct Mercury, or not Mercury, but Mars, impulsive, emotional, not much empathy here. There's a semi-square with Ceres. Relationships with women may be challenging. Again, empathy may be difficult. The thing is, here's the thing, when Aquarius is influencing, then you're going to have unconventionality, eccentricity, humanitarianism, unconventional thinking, uniqueness. You're going to also maybe be more in your head and less in the emotional aspects of things. And so you may not understand people's emotions. And so that, you just may have difficulty today with that. Now, that seems to be, Mercury, 11th house, Aquarius, also Sun, 11th house, Aquarius, same sort of thing. So I think that was pretty much it. However, then we started looking at the cards. And let's see, maybe I need to leave that up. I'll leave that up. Okay. So again, the overall theme has been, and we talked about this last week, about maybe reevaluating friendships, and because some of them may have come about because of like a cause or high emotions or what have you. And so maybe this is a time of reevaluation because lots of awareness is coming into play. We have a one energy for January, that's new beginnings, unity, wholeness. We have a 22 year, which is the cosmic builder. So that's soul level energy, rebuilding, right? We have a 20 day, so that's a 2 energy. But in a sense, if we look at the 20 and the 2020, we have a 20-20-20 or a 2-2-2, in a sense, gateway into balancing polarity, okay? Choosing the difference between service to self and service to others. And then how that plays out on the horizontal plane of existence and where we sit in all of that. Now, the cards that I drew, and I ended up drawing 4, I drew the Ace of Pentacles. I then drew the Ace of Wands. And then I drew Judgment. Now, Judgment we had last week, didn't we? But what do we have here? We have synchronicity with the day's numerology. We have a 1, we have a 1, and we have a 20. So 1 for the month, 1 and 1 is 2 for the day because 20 reduces to 2. 20 for the day itself. And then we could think of this as building toward the 22, couldn't we? 20 and 2, so there's 22. So you can see why I didn't want to change it and start all over again. This is an outstanding reading. There's so much synchronicity here. It's nutty. Let's talk about Judgment. We have a 20. It's card 20 of the major arcana, so a 2 energy. We're talking balance. But what kind of balance are we talking about? Here we have awakening. We're rising up out of our coffins to the angel Gabriel blowing his horn, the idea of the life review, which is not scary. You're not in trouble. We came here intentionally. We came here to do things. We came here with a theme in mind. And so why wouldn't you go back and say, okay, how'd it go? You know, did you accomplish everything? Did you take some side steps? Did you, find out some other stuff? How'd it go for you? What do you want to do next time? That's what this is. Nothing more, nothing less. But with judgment, we're talking awakening. We're talking rebirth and renewal. Some of the non-traditional decks, they don't use the word judgment. Some do, but a lot of them don't. They'll, like Druidcraft uses rebirth for this card, and Crowley's Thoth Tarot and Heimdall's Tarot, they use eon. And I like that better because it really describes the cyclical nature of life. We came in with a purpose, we achieved it, we left, and then we're going to come back with another purpose, achieve it, and leave. It's this cycle that we go in. And in terms of ascension right now, what we're talking about there is breaking the cycle of reincarnation into the third dimension experience and moving on to something newer and better and less dense. We don't understand that what this is a projection of consciousness. It's a collective consciousness that creates the universe that we see, but our own individual part of it is created by our own consciousness. Even if all you want to look at that in terms of is maybe perception, that's what that's about. So let's go ahead though and turn to the aces. Here we have a hand reaching out from the clouds. Not very dark clouds, and that's going to be significant when we look at the Ace of Wands. So keep that in mind. We see a path going through an archway. It's all green. It could be a hedgerow that's been fashioned into an archway, but it also could just be greenery that's sort of growing over the rock wall. It could be that too. But beyond it, you see mountains, don't you? And that's talking about, even though we have a new path that we're going on, something to do with our foundation, our life, not having to do with our will, intellect, or emotions. So career, tradition, home, family, whatever that has to do with our foundation is the pentacles, pseudo pentacles. That's the earth element. So it's what our life on earth is all about. But the aces contain all of the energy of the suit. And so you're talking about the birth of something here, something new having to do with our earthly life, with our tradition, our home, our career, our structure, our foundation, our family, whatever that is. Something about that is going to maybe have a regenesis. And in this 22 year, it's going to be a soul level type of experience. Now, moving over to the Ace of Wands, you can see the cloud's a different color, isn't it? That's the thing with will. Okay, Wands is about will. It's a fire element. And whereas the Ace of Wands did depict creativity and the birth of passion, of creative thinking, of power, of energy, all of that. Not always sure where it's coming from. If it's coming from spirit, that's one thing. If it comes from ego, that's quite another, though. Which brings us back to judgment. You see the cross in the center? We talked about this last week because we had judgment last week as well. Now, this is not a religious cross. It's not a medical cross. It's simply the energetic structure of who we are when we're here and where we place ourselves in the energy of it all. Now, the vertical axis is expressing into form, spirit into form. But you'll note that the horizontal line is not down at the bottom, is it? If you live here, you've chosen service to self. If you live somewhere here, then you have chosen service to others. All right? And there's your choice. Your life will reflect that choice. You're either going to live at here in the center, balanced, Understanding the necessity of both, sometimes needing to think about the self and sometimes needing to think about others. All right. And that somehow or another it integrates together where all are protected in the whole scenario, basically. The integrity of all are protected, I should say. So obviously the guy that we're trying to, deal with impeachment wise lives here. He has no understanding of here. And that's the whole thing, and maybe when you come into existence, maybe you come into form, maybe that's what you want to learn. Maybe you want to be the catalyst for other people to learn. I don't know. But I know that spirituality wise, living that way does not help you. The law of one talks about it, where people that are so afflicted this way will not ascend with the rest of us. They're going to have to go into another area for a while until they can heal. And then they'll come back in somewhere around, I think, 6th density or something. So they're going to skip over the 5th with us because the 4th is really just a holding place for astral energies. This sort of pass through. Maybe that's where they go. I don't know. Hopefully not, though, because I think that would be a little bit too confusing for them. I think what I remember from Law of One is what that channel text was suggesting is people like Hitler and people like that, they're taken to a place of healing where their soul can just heal, that whatever choice they made impacted them so much that they're unable to move with the rest of us into a new awareness and a new density, a new dimension of experience. They're not ready to do that at that point. So you can understand how keeping all of this in balance, especially when it comes time for the life review, you're either going to move on to something better or you're going to have to be stuck for a bit. And so that you have time to heal. It's not a negative, mind you. It's just that those souls are so damaged from a life of service to self that I don't think that they can really, move on with the rest of us in a way that makes sense. But what we're talking about here fundamentally, before we get into the fourth card here, which is the 8 of Cups, is what we're talking about here is the idea behind the life review when you're rising up out of your coffin, metaphorically, of course, because that's not how that happens. But metaphorically, you're rising up and you're looking at everything that went on with the choices that you made, coming into form, how all of that played out, all of that. Okay. So you're doing that. And then maybe, in a sense, we can do that now. We can take a look at what's been going on in our lives and see, is this really serving us? Is it going to take us into a higher level of frequency during this time of ascension when we need it to? Are we going to then be able to take advantage of the 22 energy that we need to be able to take advantage of this year and rebuild something together in unity and in harmony with one another? Because that's the other part of the if you see it with the 4 of Wands, that particular card, you're looking at a couple raising their bouquets high. They've just evidently gotten married, and you see 2 poles on either side of them, and then a garland crossed above in an X pattern. So like in like the rune Gebo, so balanced energy exchange. But what you see are the 2 poles. They're identically spaced. So you're talking about polarity in balance from each side of the equation, each couple, in other words. They've balanced their polarity. They're ready to come together in intentional harmony. And that's the 22. Okay? That's what that's all about. And so we awaken today into a new type of understanding, something that's going to affect our very foundation and is going to affect how we interact with the rest of the world. Will it be soul-based? Will it be ego-based? Will it be service to others? Will it be service to self? That's the decision that needs to be made. Now, the 4th card, because I thought, well, okay, we better figure out what this whole Ace of Wands nonsense is all about and where are we going with that. And I drew the 8 of Cups. Now, we see a man walking away from 8 cups that are stacked on the ground. I mean, he's taken an inventory, basically, of his emotions. And he's just decided, they may have served me at one point, but now it's time to let that go. and I need to go build something new. Now, they can inform me, certainly, and things that were maybe troubling and things that where I perceived something wrong, or maybe I got a little out of control or whatever, all of that can inform me for the future. But it doesn't have to plague me. It doesn't have to become me. It doesn't have to be how I then proceed on. So here, even though it's difficult, you see him walking uphill, you see some big rocks are kind of in the way, you see a boulder in the background there, and there's of course one in the over here as well. So it might be challenging. Change is, let's face it, we all know that change is not always easy, especially when we have emotions or perceptions that maybe got us going in a direction. And then at some point, we have this revelation, this realization, this awareness, this awakening. It's like, uh-oh, let's get off that train. Let's go someplace else. And I think that's what we're experiencing right now. I'm hoping that whatever is happening in Virginia today or was scheduled to happen, I hope it doesn't. The gun rally, I think at the Capitol or wherever it is. I don't know where it is. It's in Virginia, though. It was scheduled, and the whole thought of it is just scary. On Martin Luther King Day, a day of love and harmony and peace and unity. You want to bring guns to this? Why would you do that? So again, where do you want to live? You want to be down here? Or you want to be here? I think that the only answer is to be above that line. Because here's the thing. If you watched the series on the Kabbalion that I did, I talked a lot about one of the principles in its basic law is understanding that everything is part of the same whole. It's two sides of the same coin. So service to self and service to others is literally two sides of the same coin. And depending on where you fall in that, hopefully you experience both and you have a greater understanding of their purpose, of their pitfalls, of their strengths, of their weaknesses. And you're able to integrate that in a way that is more heavily weighted on service to others instead of service to self. Now, the rune that I drew was Hagalaz, the 9th rune of the Elder Futhark. It's a Norn rune of the past, but it's also known as the Witch rune. And it's about destruction in preparation for change, but within a fixed framework. The example I gave when I did this the first time was in the mid-90s. We had golf ball size hail here. We don't get that. It was a fluke. So it damaged everything. My house, I had to have a roof, new siding. I had to have new everything, right? My cars had to be fixed. It stripped all the leaves, and it stripped the trees. There were dead birds everywhere. It was horrible. It was the same year that Armageddon came out in the movies. We had just seen it like the day before or 2 days before, and then we hear this noise. And we're like, what the heck is that? And we look out and we see ice bombs dropping everywhere. And I literally had ice this thick in places. Not everywhere, but in places, it was this thick. And so it took a long time for it to melt. But when it melts, you see, there's the framework left, right? The trees were still there. The house was still there. The cars were still there. They were a mess. Things had to be fixed, but the structure was still intact. So when you think Hagalaz, you think the goddess Hela. And we saw her, of course, in Ragnarok. That was a fun movie, wasn't it? I love her, by the way. I just think she's magnificent. Cate Blanchett, I just think she's magnificent, and everything she does is more magnificent each time. So anyway, but you think destruction in preparation for something different to happen. Now, theoretically, you can also think of it in terms of witchcraft, even just the witch herself or himself being the container or the fixed framework, basically. But hopefully, whatever transformation that's happening is to bring something better. Okay, when the snow leaves, the grass returns, the flowers return, the plants return, everything grows. So it might seem destructive at the moment, But then wonderful things come about. And so I think that that's what you're seeing here with this reading. I think you're seeing with this, you're looking at awakening and awareness that's going to lead to profound change and beginnings, having to do with our will and where we place our efforts, and hopefully having it reestablish our foundation with one another, letting go of emotions that no longer serve us, and moving into something that's better. Now, let's go ahead and we'll close out with our, before my mind blanks on me again, with our geomancy rune, and let's see what we have here. Well, and I'm not going to be able to see a darn thing. Where is my, there it is. So I have a single one for fire, a single for air. Oh, well, okay, we have Kata Draconis again. You know, we've been getting that lately, Kata. Now, the Draconi in geomancy, Kata and Caput Draconis, they are governed by the north and south nodes of the moon. And the north node of the moon governs the present and future. The south node, however, is about the past, and typically more along the lines of past lives and karma. Now, it's also one of the runes, along with Carcer and Rubius, where geomancers of old, and I tell this story every time I pull one of them, where they would see it and they'd be like, oh my God, you know, let's just end the reading. Okay, we've got to destroy everything. It's just too evil to continue. Well, that's just hokey Joe, isn't it? I'm not doing that. I never do. My God, I mean, it's going to inform something, isn't it? Why would you not want to know? I don't. Maybe there's a resolution and you're not going to know about it, right? You're just going to live in fear. I don't know. Makes no sense to me. So here is Kata Draconis, the tail of the dragon, or the end of the matter, or karma, and the influence of that. And I think that Hagalas, of course, is the answer to that, taking charge. It's the crone witch who says, okay, enough is enough now. You're all just going to go sit down, and I'm going to take over here, and I'm going to fix this. And when I'm done, though, we're all going to get on the same bandwagon, and we're going to go forward together because I've had enough. Now, that's the energy that I feel right now, all right? Where an awful lot of us feel like we have had enough. And we're ready for all of this nonsense to end, okay? The Eight of Cups, we're done with it. We want an end to it. It has disrupted long enough. And so now, if y'all can't fix it, the witch will. And we're going to need a little awakening, a little awareness, a little truth to power. Some boundaries. 20 is about boundaries as well. The 2 is about boundaries, setting, you know, the parameters, if you will. But I think the presence of Kata Draconis is telling us that the karma has influenced long enough. And whatever we are creating by all of this negativity that's going on, all of the expression of the isms, the violence, the hostility, it's like, you are not going to stop me from killing people, or killing this, or shooting that. I'm going to have this gun. You're not going to stop me. I'm going to take it into Walmart. I'm going to take it into Safeway. I'm going to take it wherever. I'm just arbitrarily, right? I don't know if Safeway lets that happen or not. I actually have never seen it here, other than years ago at a True Value hardware place that was in town. It was an institution, and the guy was there to open up. And before he let any of us in, because we were waiting to go in, it was just one of those places where, when in doubt, go there and you'll find what you need, right? And so I was there with the kids and with the babies, and they were little. And I'm going to go in, and the owner shows up, and he's got a pistol, right? You know, this is back in the early 80s or mid 80s or something. Well, early 80s. And I'm literally standing there going, you know, he's like, please don't follow me in. Just wait. I'll come back out, but I'm going to check the store. So he gets his gun. He has it ready. And he walks the store, and he makes sure it's safe. And I thought, cool, I'm fine with that. Not fine with AKs and ARs strapped to the back. If I see that, I leave. That's just what happens. But I don't see that around here, okay? It doesn't happen around where I live, and I don't know why. You'd think it would, but it doesn't. Maybe it is, and I'm just not around to see it. But I got to tell you, this is with Kata again. We had it all last week several times. We had it the week before. We have to understand what karma we're creating by all of the negativity and hostility, because it's happening in service to a man who shouldn't be there to begin with. And that's going to, I mean, it's not just the impeachment. There's going to be stuff coming out here before long, and you're not going to be able to deny what most of us are seeing at all. So you're just not going to be able to deny it. It's going to be so obvious that we're just not going to be able to do anything else. If we don't get rid of him now, remove him now, we'll have to do it at the election. We won't have a choice. And so we will see that unfold here over this next year. Again, 22-year soul type of experience here, a soul type of focus where the soul is rebuilding, where the ego is not going to be able to survive this. It's going to have to transmute itself into spirit in order to survive. Because again, the ego lives here. The ego cannot understand spirit. The ego can't even understand the line of the abyss where we walk it every single day. And if we walk it, we see both sides of the equation, don't we? And we make our choices accordingly. And we choose the side of spirit because we know that it's the only sustainable place to be. So I guess that's it. Today is such a profound day, both energetically, being Martin Luther King Day. This is a time to remember that we are one, that we are one family. We couldn't be, I mean, as much as some don't want to be, it's not possible not to be. Energetically, we are all of source energy. So energetically, we're one. In the astral sense, still recovering from the cold. In the astral sense, that's all we are, is one, basically. We're just one energy. Moving about in unison and in creative force with one another. We just have to learn how to do that here. And with this 22-year, this Cosmic Builder year, I think we can. I know we can. With the election coming in November, if we don't resolve the issues that we're experiencing right now, then we will have to do that then. And we will have to have someone else win that election. We don't have a choice now. Otherwise, what we end up building will all fall apart. So, because that's what we're experiencing now, the making America great again, that does not happen by removing environmental protections from all of us, or putting us in such a structure financially that only the rich survive. It doesn't happen that way by dismantling everything. The draining of the swamp was only removing regulations so that corporate America and the world could then pollute us into non-existence. The fires in Australia, the fires in the Amazon, all of these things are going to contribute to the destruction of our planet and the destruction of us. But we don't have to let that happen. If we start acting intelligently, if we remove the individual from the White House that wants to destroy all of that, everything that we've built to try to sustain this planet. Can you imagine removing the requirements for the school lunch program so that they allow more pizza and hot dogs and hamburgers and not so much fruit and vegetables? You know, for some kids, it's the only nutritious meal they get in a day. Why would we do that to them? And I guess that's the thing that I'm trying to emphasize here. This is being done to us. It's not on our behalf. This is a petulant child who cannot seem to understand the bigger picture and the damage that he's doing. He's never had to. So why would he suddenly start? And that's, I think, what all of this is about. You know, we can go through that archway in the Ace of Pentacles into something new, no matter how difficult it is. We can climb the mountain in the Eight of Cups and create new perception and new emotion and new commitment to one another. We can bring new creative thought and new creative energies and passion to the whole thing. But it's time to account. It's time to account for the choices that were made back in 2016 in that election. It's time to account. It's time to see things as they are, not how we want them to be. Because that's just based on perception and it's not real. What's real is what's happening. And we have to see it for what it is. And then we can take the time then to allow spirit to inform the rest of the way forward. So, in any event, thanks so much for watching. Do check out the blog if you would. Again, sign up for the newsletter. And I am going to, I don't know if I mentioned this, maybe I didn't. I did in the first one. Gaiam is having a 20%, oh, here it is. Gaiam is having a 20% off sale, site-wide sale today only. Also free shipping on $75 or more. But I'm going to tell you, I have several of their products, and I have this little green peanut looking thing, and it has transformed my stomach workout like nothing ever could. So I think that right now what we're looking at with this 20% off sale, though, Gaiam's prices are already incredible. All right. It's you don't just buy one thing because they just don't cost that much, and you can go and spend some time and pick some items that are just, you know, going to really help your workout. The peanut thing has you can put it in different places along your back, the lower back. You can turn it vertically and lay back on it, and it works the different areas of your stomach. And so I have to tell you, you know, I'm going to go check it out today and see what else I can find for myself. But I bought 3 things at once, and I'm going to, they're just awesome. And at 20% off, you can't miss that. The link is going to be below this video. I'm also probably going to do a little Gaiam video for this sale today. I may film one of those too. That way it can go on Pinterest and also in the affiliate section here on YouTube. But check them out, and there'll be a coupon code again in the show more section where all my links are, and I'll move it up to the top so you see it readily, and click on that. And if you do, then I'll earn a little commission off of whatever you buy. So that would be awesome. Thank you so much in advance for that. But again, 20% off, $75 and more, free shipping. So even if you don't order that much, you at least get 20% off on your products, and you can buy a whole bunch of stuff that way. Great site for balance, for recovery, for yoga stuff. Great site. I highly, highly recommend it. And again, the links will be down below. Don't forget the coupon code, and for when you check out, and that'll be awesome. You'll be so happy when you get there. When your stuff arrives, you'll be excited like I was, and you'll be getting down on the floor and doing your workout right then and there. That's what I did. But you know, I'm a little nutty that way. So anyhow, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you again tomorrow. Check out the blog. Click subscribe here. I'd love you to do that. But otherwise, come back and we'll chat again tomorrow. Be good to yourself. Be good to one another. And blessed be.